for many, many years, I was the rabbi here in Vero Beach at Temple Beth Shalom. And my heart was really heavy on Sunday morning when Sam reached out to me and told me about Billy's passing. And how awesome, how incredible, how honored I am to be able to be here with Cinnamon and with Sam, with their family, to be able to honor and to remember Billy, the way he moved through the world, his electric personality, his incredible smile, the way that he took care of so many different people. And as I visited with a family the other day, it was striking how quickly, as we were talking on Zoom, you all started sharing all of those stories about Billy and what he meant to you. And then just a few moments ago, before we even walked in here, the folks from Strunk said that you were all going to have to squish in and that there were 4 pews for you. And then I walk out here and you're all squunched in on 2 pews. That says a lot about your family and the way that you take care of each other and the way that you are here in this place to honor and to remember Billy. Death cannot take that which is locked in our hearts. With our tears and our sorrow, we remember. With our courage and our strength, we do not forget. Acts of kindness, deeds of courage remain. Beauty created, wisdom shared is not lost. With our laughter and our sweet memories, we remember. For Billy's love that united us in life and which death cannot sever. For his companionship that we share along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of his heart and his mind that brought us joy and happiness and are now a precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. As we are here in this place, we use the words of our sacred tradition, the words of the Hebrew Bible. There are so many moments that our ancestors said goodbye to the people that they love. And in those moments, they've offered words that stick with us thousands of years later here in these moments. As we face life and death, as we face the infinite and the finite, we use these words of our ancestors to acknowledge both Billy's life, but also as we are in this act of saying goodbye. From the book of Ecclesiastes, for everything there's a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silent and a time to speak. From Psalm 90, O God, you have been our refuge in every generation. Before the mountains came into being, before you brought forth the earth and the world, from eternity to eternity, your God. As for us, you turn us to repentance and say, return, you mortals. The days of our years are 70 or by reason of strength 80 years. But 1,000 years in God's sight is but yesterday when it's past, a watch in the night. Teach us, therefore, to number our days, that we may attain a heart of wisdom. And may your favor, O God, be upon us. Establish the work of our hands, that it may long endure. And I am hoping that when you came in, you did get a page of prayer. It has Psalm 23 and El Mali Rachamim, as well as Kaddish that we'll use when we go to the graveside a little bit later today. So first I start with words of Psalm 23, first in Hebrew, and then we'll join together in the English. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'i lo eksar, benot desha yarbit seni, almei menuchot yachileni, nashi yoshev. Yacheni b'maglei tzedek lema'an shemo, gam, ki elech begeit salmavet, lo ira ra, ki ata imade. And we read together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Our parents taught us to praise the name of God, to praise the Holy One of blessing who created us in life. Not only in hours of joy and times of gladness did our people arise to praise God's name, but also in times of sadness and these hours of pain. Through the long round of the centuries, we have learned to rise in the face of every storm, even in times of sorrow and pain, to praise God's name, to maintain a stance of human dignity, to affirm our consecration to the task of life. In confronting death, we can still utter a hymn of life. And so here we are, to honor and remember Billy, how he moved through this world, how his life touched and shaped us in our path through life. It is never easy to say goodbye, but with these acts of memory, we let the light of our loved one present shine powerfully through us. As we are here in this place, and I know there are his family and friends and folks who knew Billy through business, there are so many layers of community from Temple Beth Shalom and beyond. As we are here in this place, we take a moment of silence. And there's in the book of Leviticus, there is a moment when Moses comes out to tell Aaron the priest that his two sons, Nadav and Abihu, have died in that place. And Torah very simply says, Vayadom Aharon, Aaron was silent. And it's striking because it's not the usual word that you might, if you've been to Hebrew school, that you know for silence, which is sheket bavakasha, where the teacher says, stop talking, it's time for you to learn to listen to me. This is a different kind of silence. It's a silence of Elijah at Horeb. It's a silence of having the power of that moment and connecting with God. And so here in this place, we bring that kind of silence, each of us remembering Billy in our own way, but also just filling this space with the presence of his light and love. We take a moment here in this place to honor Billy with that act of silence. Adonai Tzuri v'Goali. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, God, our rock and our Redeemer. As we are here in this place, as we are taking time for silence, we also honor and remember Billy with words. And so there are family and friends coming forward to share incredible memories of him. And so first I call forward Ronnie to share memories. They said you wanted to share memories of Billy.
I had a second this morning to decide what color shirt I would wear. I had a black shirt and a white shirt. And that 1 second I grabbed the white shirt. Why? Because Billy was life. Billy was brightness. And the white represents to me just, he'll be there forever. And when I look at Randy, and when I look at his children, when I look at Sam, and when I look at Cinnamon, when I look at everybody that Billy touched, his spirit will always be around. Billy has changed my life. I was his roommate in college, and without him, I wouldn't be here today. Billy did everything for me, and he was like a brother. He was like a best friend. He was, long story too short, and if it's too late to tell a short story, The short story is that Billy will never die in my heart. Thank you.
And Frank?
Sorry, I usually don't write notes, but I've got a book here I'm going to read through, so get comfortable. This is Ivy, also known as Mushkila. That's what Billy called her. And we're going to kind of do this together, but I'll take the lead and you can come in at any point. I want to thank everyone for being here. Billy loved this community. He came down to be with Cinnamon and made this his home and a special place. He has so many friends and colleagues here. And again, we really appreciate you being here to participate in this honor to Billy. I'd like to begin, I'm Billy's brother, Frank, and I'd like to begin by reflecting on the truly remarkable bond that Billy shared with my portion, my tree of the Moss family. Beginning with Kim. Kim is my wife. She adored Billy, and Billy adored her. Now, that should surprise no one. We all know that Billy had a big heart for strong and beautiful women. Just think of Barbara and Cinnamon. And for some reason, Kim had a soft spot for funny, adorable Jewish men. And she really hit the jackpot with her brother-in-law. I can't tell you how much our kids, Elon and Jennifer, Riss and Mike, Hill and Will, and our beloved grandkids, Max, Sam, Stone, and Dylan, they love their wild and wonderful Uncle Billy. And all that love was reciprocated. I never, among the thousands of phone calls I had with Billy, the phone call, never once did he fail to ask about each and every niece and nephew on every call. It took a long time to get through a call with Billy. His legendary antics at Thanksgiving dinners, Passover seders, numerous family reunions are woven into the fabric of their collective memories. What an amazing gift for our kids and everyone from Billy. Now, I guess we're not supposed to tell long stories, but I don't follow rules. You have to tell a Billy story. And I'd like to share Kim's all-time favorite story, a tale that makes her laugh every time we tell it. And you could tell it a million times, she'll laugh a million times. And it happened on our wedding day. That was about 36 or 7 years ago, at an imposing English Tudor manor on the North Shore of Boston, north of where we live. Now, Billy was in rare form during the rehearsal. He had all of us roaring with laughter, except for the wedding planner, Priscilla. She was a quintessential New Englander type who had no patience for Billy's antics. And as you can imagine, there was no love lost between these two. Now, on the day itself before the ceremony, Kim and I and Billy were in the sitting room waiting for our parents, who had mysteriously disappeared. Now, time ticked by and worry crept in. Suddenly, Billy leapt into action, which is what Billy did, as you know. He grabbed an antique Minuteman musket from above this huge fireplace, and he threw a napkin or maybe some kind of a handkerchief on his head, I guess to look like maybe a colonial hat. And he ran from room to room with the musket and the hat, frantically screaming, "Priscilla kidnapped my parents. She's going to murder them." Now, eventually, there were a lot of rooms. This is an old English manor. Took a while. Billy located my parents in the library. And my mom was reading some kind of antique book of poems, and my dad was playing pool with a staff member. Now, of course, Mom and Dad didn't find that all unusual for Billy. I mean, with a musket and a thing on his head. It was, pretty usual. Priscilla, on the other hand, Priscilla was on the verge of canceling the whole wedding. Kim was pretty concerned. But no worries at all. She was ultimately charmed and disarmed by Billy, and the wedding went back on. Billy had that effect on people, as you know. And now, Randy, Jordan, where's Jordan? Sam, I want to talk to you. There are no words that can truly lessen the pain of losing a dad like Billy. But I hope you can remember one thing. Just over 20 years ago, your dad lost his own father. Your beloved Papa, my father, Ivy's father. Their bond was as close as any of us have ever known. And although they butted heads a lot, they loved each other fiercely in the way that no father and son have ever loved one another, except for perhaps us, and Jordan and Billy, and me and my son. The loss was devastating for your father, you know that. But Billy was the most resilient and optimistic soul I've ever met. His unwavering strength, and it was grounded deeply, as you may know, and we all know, in a very core set of deep principles, and his unbreakable love for his family carried him through even the darkest times, like we have here today. With Cinnamon at his side, and the unconditional support of his beloved Paul, Lisa, Allie, Jake, Kayla, and Ryder. He loved you so much, his grandkids. He talked to me about them all the time, also on every phone call. They went like an hour minimum. I really believe that your dad found a new lease on life in these last 2 decades. A sort of renaissance. Even as Billy faced illness, he achieved so much during his time, these past 20 years, personally, professionally, and in this community of Vero Beach that he loved so much. It was so dear to him. As always, your father, Billy, led by example. Now it falls to you, Sam, Randy, Jordan, and all of us, to carry Billy's legacy forward, to meet life challenges with even a fraction of the spirit and the humor and the love that Billy brought to us. Now finally, I know I've run over it, but in the short time I have to speak here, I couldn't possibly express how much my big brother Billy meant to me, so I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to try. There's simply too many wonderful stories of our life journey together. It began in a small, tiny brick ranch house at 810 Milford Mill Road in Baltimore. Those of you who know Billy knew that he never forgot where he came from, and he never let you forget it. It was this house built by our parents in 1950, and it was a temple, literally a temple of fun, family, friendships, and food. Lots of food. Delicious chicken soup, brisket, all prepared by Bubby, all eaten by us. Milford Mill was complete 10 years later. It was built in 50, but 1960, with the joyful arrival of our sister Ivy. And with all that attention that we showered on her, all that candy, all that love, most especially by Billy, who called her Mushkala. It's remarkable that Ivy turned out so well. Billy loved her dearly, I can tell you. As we all know that Billy was known, his famous quote, for an attitude of gratitude, no matter what life brought his way. And especially today, I find myself deeply grateful for his love, for his laughter, and most importantly, for all those pep talks, which many of you have received. I received more, because I was around longer, just when I needed them at the toughest times. And of course, for all those unforgettable Billy hugs. Now, in conclusion, and I apologize for taking this much time, Billy and I always ended phone calls, always. It was a text, it was a phone call, with an expression of love. I love you, Bill. I love you, Frank. Always. I will always hold close the last text that I received from Billy, not that long ago, maybe a month ago, I'm not sure, which ended with these words: "My thoughts are with you and Kim constantly. All is well here. I face each day with gratitude, with all the things I have, and try to face all my challenges with a good attitude. I know you try to do the same. As Mom used to say, it's all in God's hands. Love, Billy."
He took my time. And he said it all. I just don't know what to say. I really don't. Except I love you, Billy Porter. And he would say whenever he would answer the phone when I'd call him or he would call me, like Frank said, he would always say, "Mush!" That's how he did it. But I have tapes of that, and I'll play that all the time. Thank you. Good job.
Will somebody else get up here?
And Allie and Jake.
You could go.
I couldn't have been blessed with a more incredible grandfather. A man who knew what to say in every moment, a man who was so beyond proud of his children and his grandchildren, a man who taught me the importance of family, love, laughter, positivity. Although I've always known how much of an impact he's made on people's lives, it's been such an honor to read and hear all the stories from people the past couple days and how bright of a light he truly was in everybody's life. Since my earliest memories, I knew my Zadie was a total comedian. Whenever he was about to tell a story, my ears perked up, eyes locked in, and I was waiting for the moment my family and I all bursted out into uncontrollable laughter. Some of my favorite childhood memories were laughing at the Cape, sharing stories, dancing around with cooked lobster, and embracing the love that filled the air. "Mushka, love Frank, grab your lobsters and get over here." My Zadie, Uncle Frank, and Aunt Ivy posed for a picture. Lobster tails in mouth, tongue sticking out, and probably every bodily fluid that could possibly come out of your face present. It was in that moment while everyone was laughing at the commotion going on that I realized how crazy my family was. And that memory I will never forget. On another occasion, we all took a trip to Disney World with my Zadie. It had rides, roller coasters, and games, and most importantly, turkey legs. It wasn't long until my Zadie was waiting for us outside a roller coaster, arm up with a half-eaten turkey leg, tucked into his sleeve where his hand should have been. As everyone was getting up the ride, he pointed at this turkey leg at the hand, pointed with his turkey leg at the roller coaster and told everyone, "Don't get on that ride." We laughed uncontrollably. That was my Zadie. Not only was he a comedian, but my Zadie was one of the wisest people I've ever met. A man with more quotes than Quotes.com. Whenever I found myself in times of trouble or needed someone to talk to, I knew I could call my Zadie and leave the conversation with a new mantra. One of the calls specifically, we were talking about when the chaos of life hits, opportunity is knocking at the door, and it feels like everything that could possibly be going on is going on. Maybe it was just me navigating my late teenage years, but nevertheless, his answer was, "My grandson, never forget that the universe rewards action." I took that call to heart and decided to get that quote tattooed on my arm without telling him. Cinnamon Sam Zadie came to New York for the holidays, where I decided it was time to do the big reveal. Zadie, I wanted to show you something. I pulled up my sleeve, and as he read the Universe Awards action on my arm, he basically passed out and started hysterically crying. We embraced in a warm hug and belly laughs, and I still don't know to this day if his reaction was complete shock and horror that I would ever do such a thing to my body, or if he was just so proud that he could make such an impact on my life. And for the sake of moving forward, I'm just going to stick with the latter. Zadie, what you have taught me is immeasurable. From approaching life with a force unknown to mankind, to remembering that laughter is one of the world's greatest medicines, and the importance of family, friends, keeping a strong, positive mental attitude. Although you might not physically be here anymore, the teachings, laughs, and stories will live on forever, and I'm truly blessed to be able to keep them at the forefront of my life. I love you so much, my amazing Zadie.
Okay, bear with me. I can never imagine a world without my Zadie in it, and I'm still really trying to fathom a world in which he's not a quick FaceTime or call away. My Zadie was endless light. Positivity seeped through his skin. If you knew him or even crossed paths with him once, you could feel it. It's something actually indescribable, but if you knew Billy Moss, you know exactly what I'm talking about. As the oldest grandchild, I was lucky enough to have the most time with my Zadie. Ugh. Whether we were bonding over our mutual love of the beach and the sun, eating 31 flavors cookies and cream ice cream, or laughing at one of the crazy faces we would make to each other, we were always having the best time. My childhood is full of pee my pants laughing memories with my Zadie. He was fucking hysterical. Excuse my French, Rabbi. But he would have really appreciated it. My Zadie was a curse word connoisseur, a true professional. From a young age, my Zadie taught us how much better and more descriptive a story could be with a few swear words sprinkled in. While he was there to teach us plenty of bad words and derogatory Yiddish, he also was able to instill so many life lessons. We knew whenever we needed help, advice, or just a little bit of connection, we could call Zadie. I remember the exact moment I called him on the day that my Aunt Jody had passed away. It was such a significant day in our family as new life began for my cousin Ryder, but we were also so rocked by the unexpected death of our closest family friend. My mom was out of town, and I didn't really know who to turn to. But I knew my Zadie could help. I was 16 years old and never had experienced death before, and it is no shock to anyone. He knew exactly what to say. He always knew what to say. That was his superpower. Fast forward a few years to my first breakup. As cringy as this may sound, I sent him the text message, "Where does all the love go when you love someone so much and then all of a sudden not at all?" Here was my Zadie's reply. "The love will always be there. While it may change shapes and forms, it will always be in your heart to look back on it and reminisce of the fond memories you may have from time to time." I mean, what is more poetic than that text alone? He taught me how to shift perspectives, keep positive mental attitude, PMA as he would call it, and live every day to the fullest. As I grew older and we continued to live our time in separate states, we would send each other sunsets. Back and forth, pictures of a beautiful sunset. No words needed, just the night sky with a perfectly red sun and cotton candy colored clouds. It was our secret way of communicating with each other. The ultimate "I love you." We both loved a red sky at night because, you know, as the saying goes, the next day would be a sailor's delight. A day with impeccable sunshine. I can go on and on about how much my Zadie truly meant to me. He was my #1 fan, my forever cheerleader, and my favorite person to introduce anyone to. Since he passed, old friends have come out of the woodwork sending me messages about how incredible he was, noting how much he meant to me and my family, but also thanking me for introducing him to them, even that ex-boyfriend. My Zadie was and will forever be that perfect sunset for the rest of my life. Every red sky will remind me of him. I will know he's sending that same unspoken I love you, and I've never been more grateful to be a part of his horizon. How lucky am I to feel his love still painting the sky. Sadie, I love you more than life itself. I can't wait to laugh with you again. But until then, I'll see you in every sunset.
And Jordan? And by the way, swearing is perfectly allowed.
Just want to start by saying thank you so much to everyone that came out to say goodbye to my father, Billy. For those that don't know me, my name is Jordan Moss. I'm one of Billy's 3 children. I'm the middle child and the son of Billy and Barbara. And this is one of those moments right now that I think I've thought about maybe for the last few years and in the back of my head, and was always terrified that it would actually happen, and it's to deliver this type of speech to pay respects to my dad at his funeral. But here we are, and I'm honored to speak about my father. My dad, Billy, and my mom, Barbara, raised my sister, Randy, and I in the suburbs of Chicago. Our youngest brother, Sam Moss, came later from Cinnamon, who had my brother from another mother. And as you know, Sam was born in Vero Beach. So after my father graduated from the University of Miami and married my mom, Barbara, they moved to Chicago because that's where my mother's family was, and that's where my mother grew up. My mother's family was in the restaurant business. My grandfather owned restaurants in Chicago. And when my dad was in his 20s, during the day, I believe he was a salesman. He would drive around and he would sell records, albums, rock albums. And at night, he would bartend at my grandfather's restaurant. And it was here, and my mom would waitress at the restaurant. And it was here where my dad learned about the restaurant business, and then he went off to open his first restaurant, which was actually the same name as my grandfather's restaurant. It was an iconic restaurant in the suburbs of Chicago called Myron and Phil's. That was my dad's first restaurant, and some of my first memories are of me back in the kitchen. And I thought it would be fitting to share some information about my father that might give you a look inside of him that you might not knew existed, or you might not knew was there. So one of my earliest memories in my life took place at an event in the suburbs of Chicago. And for many years, my dad, Billy, donated let me take a step back. In Chicago, there's an organization that's called Glenkirk. And Glenkirk is in the suburbs of Chicago, and it's a nonprofit organization that houses and provides for individuals with disabilities. And they had this large campus down the street from my dad's restaurant. So every year, my dad would close down the restaurant, which took a lot for him to close down the restaurant for the day, and he would sponsor meals. It would take all of his restaurant staff, and then he would invite his friends and family to go to Glenkirk, and provide a day of food to everyone that was on the campus. And I remember being 5 or 6 or 7, and people there didn't look like me or act like me, and I was so frightened. And I just remember that my dad was not frightened, and my dad would engage with everybody. That was one of his superpowers for sure. One thing that I love about my dad is he wasn't the type of person that was looking for anyone to pat him on the back, or he wasn't looking for anyone's recognition. And I knew when he did things, he did them out of the kindness of his heart and because he wanted to give back. And that was his character. And I think that was part of how he was raised with my grandparents, Bubby and Papa, because that's how I remember they lived life also. My dad was not motivated by money, and he never considered people that had money or people that had materialistic items to be better than others. One thing about my father, he was generous, and he was beyond generous, and he was almost generous to a fault. For all the years that he owned restaurants, he would always invite friends and family and never ask anyone to pay for anything. He was the one that would pay out of his own pocket, and he would happily provide for whatever they wanted. So many memories of being in his restaurant, which he had a few restaurants, but the one that I grew up in the 80s and the 90s was called Billy and Company. But when I was a high school student at Lake Zurich High School, my dad told me to invite all of my friends and all of my friends' dates to the restaurant on homecoming. So we all took limos to his restaurant Saturday night. My dad probably bought, 20 people dinner. We sat in the middle of the restaurant on a dining room, eating chicken, eating ribs, eating lobster. And he paid for it all. He never asked for a dime, of course. And that scenario was repeated over and over again throughout the years at his various restaurants. My dad taught me a lot about life, if not everything. And now that I'm a parent, to my amazing children over there, I believe that one aspect of parenting is to believe in your children, and teach your children to believe in themselves. And my father, Billy, truly believed that you could accomplish what you want to accomplish in your life. Those that have been around my father, and all of us in this room that just heard my nephew Jake speak, knew that my father would often say, "You are the author of your own destiny." It obviously left an impact on Jake because he tattooed it on his body. I truly believe in every fiber of my body that this is the case. I really do believe you are the author of your own destiny. And I know that through my father's unwavering support and his belief and philosophy, it's allowed me to find my way in life, and it's allowed me to figure out how to navigate my life and find my own successes. I honestly and truly have a fire in my belly and in my soul. And I feel it a lot, and it keeps me moving forward. And I feel it burning, and it's not usually in the good times. It's in the hard times. It's in the times where I've made mistakes, and it's in the times that I've had a bad day, or the times that I lost a deal at work. I have this fire in my belly that was lit by my Father's support that keeps me pushing forward no matter what the circumstances is, and it's changed my life. And it's allowed me to have this amazing life that I have with my family, and I owe that to my dad. He taught me how to navigate life with the gifts that I have. Most importantly, he instilled in me to try my hardest, and if you want to accomplish something, and if you try your hardest, you will be rewarded in the end. And he was right. My dad coached my soccer team when I was a kid. So he used to drive my friends and I to soccer games on Saturdays. So Saturday was a time where the restaurant wasn't open until dinner. I don't think it was open. It wasn't open for lunch on Saturdays, which is why he coached my team. And there was always an issue at the restaurant. There was a waitress that didn't show up. There was a cook that didn't show up. The air conditioning wasn't working. The heating wasn't working. For those in the restaurant business know. So of course, every Saturday, I would sit in the front seat of his Jaguar. He had a black Jaguar when we were growing up. And three or more of my friends would sit in the back seat. I think we were about 10 years old, 11 years old. And my dad had one of the first cell phones in a bag. He was the first person I knew after the bag phone to have a car phone. So on Saturdays, while he was driving us to our soccer game, he would be on the phone every Saturday yelling at somebody, using every curse word in the dictionary that existed and making up some that didn't exist. And I would just be a 10-year-old boy, like looking in the rearview mirror at my three friends behind me, saying, I wonder what my conservative Gentile friends think of my dad, this crazy Jewish guy. And one of the parents asked one of my childhood friends, Kirk Canoes, do you like driving with Mr. Moss? And he said, yes, Mr. Moss uses very creative words. My dad's life was not short of experiences, and if his life were to be turned into a Hollywood movie, people might think that it was a fiction movie. They might not believe the circumstances in his life, but it was true, and it was quite an amazing life. In the last few years, my dad was not liking the Parkinson's story. I know he was fighting hard, but Parkinson's was not for him, and I felt it, and he tried his hardest until the end. Sorry, I'm almost finished. At least this is shorter than my wedding speech and maybe my kids' bar mitzvah speeches, but I think. My dad and I spent numerous good times together, and one thing was always sporting events. My father took me to Super Bowl 20 in New Orleans. We saw the Chicago Bears beat the New England Patriots 46-10 live. Years later, he just sent me a note a few months ago. Jesus, I think it was 30 years ago. My father took me to Baltimore with my grandparents, Sam and Rose, and we saw Cal Ripken Jr. play in the record-breaking game 21-31. He played in 2,131 games straight without taking a break, so I don't think that record will ever be broken, but that was a special moment. Cal Ripken actually hit a home run. My final evening, which was, I don't know, a week ago, or it was spent with my dad and my sister. And I showed him pictures of Ryder and I. We had just gone to the Baltimore Ravens game in Miami, and the Ravens won. And Lamar threw 4 touchdown passes. And I told him that, and he lit up. And then my final few minutes, or my final hours with my dad, was spent in the hospital room watching the 7th game of the World Series, playing on TV. And I knew this made him happy. I will miss him dearly, and I'm so thankful for the love and support he has given me for my entire life. I love you, Dad.
And Randy?
Does everyone need a stretch break? A little bit? Okay. Put your hands up, everyone. Both hands. Shake them up a little bit like you're at a Baptist church. Lean to the left. Lean to the right. Shake them up a little bit. Shake your shoulders up a little bit. Maybe your knees. My dad would like that shtick. I want to just start by saying that as I stand here in such gratitude, because that's what my dad displayed for me no matter what circumstance was going on, you know, the saddest times or the happiest times. I would ask him how he felt, and he said, I'm okay because I have gratitude. So I hope that everyone that is here celebrating my dad feels the gratitude just for knowing him. And he would love that. I also am standing here on behalf of my husband, Paul, who he loved like a son. So in all the words I say, from your heart too. How does a daughter put her love for her father on a piece of paper? I'm not sure, but I have faith that as he did in my life, my dad will guide me to write this, and he did. I really think my dad wrote this for me. He spent his life writing things on pieces of paper. He loved the great poets and writers, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Thomas Jefferson, Viktor Frankl, Jack London. My dad quoted them all, and he quoted them often. My dad would write his quotes down in journals. He would write his quotes down in cards, letters, yellow pads everywhere, posters, text. When Cinnamon, Sam, Allie, and I went to his office on Monday, we found so many words, letters, notes he had written during his life. I even found his Billy's Good Life Cafe business plan, one of his restaurants, in his top drawer. I vividly remember him writing it at the kitchen table in my childhood home. And as I was looking through the desk drawers, files, and on his shelves, I found a simple note attached to a journal, right at the top of the journal. And he wrote it to himself.
wrote, "Remember, Bill, write it down." So I sit here writing my thoughts of you, Dad, and following your advice. Your words, I know, will advise me, the words that led me through my entire life. My dad would say one thing to me on repeat: when you do anything, Randy, do it with heart. My dad came from a long lineage that was a perfect combination of deep love and boundless laughter. So I'm going to need some audience participation here. Just warning you. Laughter is our family's language of love, handed down from his father, my Papa Sam. It is the thread that weaves generations of Mosses together. But first I want to tell you about the actual physical part of the laughter. It's not your normal everyday laughter. This laughter, my dad's laughter, and the Moss forefathers' laughter, is the kind of fall off your chair laughter, tears streaming down your eyes laughter, snot running out of your nose laughter, followed by uncontrollable coughing, which ends up making you laugh again even that much harder. This is the kind of laughter that has filled our entire lives. Humor is the culture that our whole family has been accustomed to, and one of the things that I love so much about my dad. My dad found his home here in Vero Beach, and he found such light and love. He loved this place so much. He loved the sun. And for some reason, when I think of my dad, even in the windy city of Chicago, I think of him in the summer, covered in tanning oil, laying on a lounge chair, reflector in hand. Remember the reflectors? Radio in his hand, glass full of iced tea. That was his shtick. I found a quote in my dad's journal when we were looking through, and it said, "In the depths of winter, I finally learned that there was in me an invincible summer." And I really think that my dad had an invincible summer. This place drew him here. Also, my dad loved shtick. And a little lesson for those of you, a little Yiddish lesson for those of you who may not know what this term is. Shtick is a gimmick. It's a performance or a show, a routine that is usually repeated and repeated, and it's done in order to get a few laughs. It's very specific, done in order to get a few laughs. And my dad loved a shtick. My dad loved a show. To this day, my mom reminds me that when I was just 4 years old, my dad woke me up from my bed around midnight after a night of my parents going out with their friends to perform the Mickey Mouse Club. I was 4 years old, and he pulled me out of bed. Randy, come do a Mickey Mouse Club shtick for my friends." As a little girl, my dad and I had so much of our own shtick. We had weekly shows and dance routines. Our favorite performance featured none other than our most favorite performers, the two of us. Our favorite routine was a song by the Spinners, and this is where I might need some help. "Working my way back to you, babe, with an earning love inside. I'll be working my way back to you, babe." All right, that's good. And we performed it like we had a full audience. We didn't just sing. We had the dance routine too. It was a step to the right, step to the left, step to the right, and turn, clap. I'll spare you. We also had a piano in our house growing up, and my dad taught me both parts of chopstick so we can intermix the pinky part, do, 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 and the, do, that part. We would change up who did what in that song, and There was one song, though, that really brought the house down. This is what garnered the standing ovation on Stratford Street. And it was "In the Jungle, the Mighty Jungle." You remember that? My dad would sing the lyrics. "In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight." And then I would come in with "A wing-a-wop, a wing-a-wop, a wing-a-wop, a wing." I knew you wouldn't let my dad down. This would go on for hours. And the shtick never stopped and even carried into my adulthood. On July 1st, 1995, the day before Paul and I got married, my girlfriends and I were walking home on Division Street in Chicago, right in the heart of Chicago where all the bars are. And all of a sudden, me and my girlfriends ran into my dad and all of his friends right on the corner. And my dad was doing the same thing. He was with you, Ron. My dad suddenly broke into full song and dance. "Going to the chapel and we're gonna get married." It was a moment I'll always remember. My friends, his friends, all singing and dancing and having the best time on the streets, and the people looking. My dad loved when people looked. If people looked at his shtick, the better. We learned never to be embarrassed by anything. My brothers would attest to that. The very next day on our wedding day, during the reception, all of a sudden the lights went dim and we heard my dad on the mic. He did that. What is going on? Tapped the mic a few times. And started telling people the story. Meeting my friends on the corner with his friends, and with boundless enthusiasm, pride, and all the theatrics, he started to break into the song. But this was not just a song that he decided because we had met yesterday on that corner. It was a fully planned shtick, complete with signs, a band, posters. He even hired backup singers in short black dresses. During COVID, when I would teach yoga classes and hold interviews on Instagram with people that I was inspired by, my dad, of course, was my #1 fan. He would call every day. "Randall, what time does the show start?" It made me laugh every time. It wasn't a show, it was a class. And he knew it, but he loved calling it a show because he loved a show. My dad would watch the whole thing, and then as soon as it ended, the moment it ended, he texted me right away. It was the first text I got. "Ran, excellent show, good job. Ran, that was the most amazing show I have ever seen. You must be exhausted." "Ran, best show ever. You killed it today." In my last show, he said, "My girl, I am so proud of you. I haven't stopped crying. I love you." I knew my dad was my #1 fan always, and I know he loved me because he told me and he showed me continuously, even to the last moments of his life. Now, my brothers are going to tell you about sports memories, baseball and soccer games, but I don't have one of those memories with him. With me, his only daughter, the one whose heart over the I in Randy belonged to him. He would say that in every card. He'd sign my name with a heart and say the heart belonged to him. It was all showbiz. It was all song. It was all dance. It was all shtick. During COVID, we had time for what some may call an abundance of shtick. We took shtick to the max. The incredible opportunity that gave time for us to FaceTime every single day. We had a streak going, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to spend as much time as I can with my dad on these FaceTime calls and not be the one to hang up first. That was my shtick. I would play the game with myself and make sure I wasn't the first person to hang up. And this was a good shtick. But I soon realized my dad had the same shtick going on. The calls went on sometimes for hours. I would look at the time on my phone after as if we were in a competition from the day before. But here's the kicker. After the call was over and we finally talked about everything under the sun, neither me or my dad could figure out how to end the FaceTime call. You know what I'm talking about if you're over 50 and ever tried to FaceTime call. There's like 3 screens you have to do and then press the red button. We would start clicking the screen. How the fuck do you turn this thing off, we would say. Every time. And we would just laugh at each other's incompetence at clicking it. We would laugh, and the FaceTime calls went on for weeks and months. And of course, we did eventually learn how to end the FaceTime call and what to click at the end. But we didn't stop pretending like we couldn't figure it out. We would exclaim at the end of every FaceTime call, "Ugh, how in the world do you turn this thing off?" It was our shtick, and it stayed with us. And just a couple weeks ago, Paul and I were FaceTiming my dad. And at the end of the call, I tapped the screen with frustration. How do you turn this thing off? He did too, and just like the first time it happened, he laughed. And I loved doing this. And I did it because, yes, it would make him laugh. But I think the real reason I kept doing it is because I realized that the longer I kept tapping, the more time it provided us on those calls. I've always called my dad my guru. He taught me so much. I loved his creativity and the way he thought about things. I would get lost in the words he would write to me. My most prized possession is a binder he made for me when I graduated college that he named From Father to Daughter. It's full of quotes and inspirations and stories. It's still something that I look to for guidance. There's been times when I've been searching for the answer, the meaning, and I've always found it there. With my dad, meaning was found in the little things. He wrote, "Randall, the most important things in life aren't things." Well, let me preface that, unless it's chocolate cake. Or maybe fried chicken. Or ribs. As a little girl, he used to bring me to the Inner Harbor in Baltimore and sit me right on the fish counter where they'd shuck oyster after oyster, and he would look to the guys behind the counter and any patron standing there. He'd say, "Look at my daughter eat this oyster." He'd proclaim it proudly. This was his shtick all the time. After he squeezed the lemon and put the horseradish and the cocktail sauce on, he would hand me the oyster, and I would do exactly what he taught me to do. I'd slurp it down. And it always ended up in a full round of applause. My dad thought it was the greatest shtick ever. And my dad and I had a special shtick, but I love that he also had his own shtick with his sons. I love that he had his own shtick with Jordan. I love that he had his own shtick with Sam, with his sister and his brother, his grandkids, my husband. When Paul was bartending for my dad in the late 90s at the Good Life Cafe, he had this shtick. Son-in-law, son-in-law. Can you hear him? "Come over here and pour your father a shot of wild turkey. Hit me up," he would say. He provided Paul and I an amazing relationship of love, trust, friendship, guidance, and counsel. My dad taught me about taking the high road, about always looking for the positive, and how to use PMA, positive mental attitude. He said this about being an optimist. Even when things don't turn out well, optimists are certain that they will get better. He quoted Wayne Dyer, our very favorite, and said, "Change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change." He taught me that by changing my thoughts, I could get through whatever challenge I was facing, and that by doing so, I can make a positive impact not only on my life, but on the lives of others, as he did. Even though he instilled this in me most of the time when my own kids were going through any challenge or question in their lives, looking for parental advice from Paul and I, my answer to them would be, "You should call your Zadie." I think that is what I'm going to miss the most. I knew my dad would be the one to speak the words of wisdom that could lift them up. I knew he would say just the right thing, and he did it over and over. I'm so grateful that Allie and Jake had their Zadie to guide them. It was my dad they would call when they needed inspiration and guidance. I always knew my dad loved me so much. He was so proud of me, and he was so proud of Sam, and he was so proud of Jordan. He loved our children. He loved Cinnamon so much. He loved my mom. He loved his friends. His pride was enormous. His love for his family was incomparable to everything else. He loved his children so much, and his brother and sister, his parents. My dad always had words. He always had words. He always had shows. He always had the wisdom to guide me. But one of the most profound memories I have of my dad's words were saying in his speech at my wedding. Were said at the speech in my wedding. Everyone, of course, was ready to hear pages upon pages of Gillian Moss quotes, stories, etc., because that's what we look for. But instead, he got up to the mic. Again, he tapped it a few times. He took a really long pause. He held up his champagne, and he looked around. He looked at everyone. Looked at everyone's eyes. And he said, to my family, to my mother, to my father, to my sister, to my brother, to my wife, to my children, to my cousins, my nieces and nephews and friends. You have given my life great meaning. I'll never forget that. And at a time when I expected so many words, he summed it all up just like that, one statement. My dad lived a life that he loved and a life of meaning. I love you so much, Dad, and I will never stop missing you. And I will forever wish I had just one more time with you, Dad. Thank you for showing me the true purpose of a life well lived. How the fuck do you turn this off?
And Sam?
I want to first start off by thanking all of you for coming here today. And as I look at the top 5, let me say that it honestly has not hit me until right now, looking out at all of you, friends and family, and faces who I've not seen before. But one thing we all have in common here today is the fact that my dad touched everybody's lives in this room. I want to thank Rabbi Michael Bernefeld for being here today. He came all the way from Clearwater. He was one of the first people that I called after hearing the news. Your mentorship and leadership meant so much to me. My dad was my hero, as he was to so many, and he was my #1 supporter. He was my friend. He always supported my dream and passion of music, which meant the absolute world to me. And without him, I would be nowhere close where I am today. I have so many memories and amazing times that I've spent with my dad, but there's one scenario there's one scenario that I always think about and I want to share. When I was younger, my mom used to work nights on Fridays and Saturdays, so it would just be me and my dad. As a kid, I'd always look forward to spending time with my dad on the weekends, and we'd always have the best time. We'd either go to Best Buy so I could play with the Guitar Hero, or the park so I could mess around and he'd be so nervous that I'd get hurt. Home Depot so I could sit on lawnmowers. The mall so I could say hello to all the store owners. We'd go out for ice cream at our favorite spots, or just go watch a movie at the theaters. We'd always go to our favorite restaurant, Fujiyama. It was our tradition every week. We'd go so much the owners started to know me personally. And every time I go in there to this day, they're always so excited to see me and always ask about me and my father. When the day would come to an end, my dad would tuck me in, turn on the TV, and try to put me to bed. But I'd always wait for my mom to come home. Then they would come in and put me to bed, and it was the perfect ending to the day. It'd just be pure father and son time. And it meant everything to me. And those days were genuinely some of the best times of my life. And I'll never forget it. My mom was such an important part of my dad's life. And she took on so many roles to support me and my dad as the years went on. She is the strongest woman I know and the best mom I could ever ask for. And my dad would want me to say the exact same thing here today. My dad loved my mom so much, and he could always count on her. She was his rock, and it meant so much to me to know that my mom took such good care of my dad. Since I've been away at college, my dad would send me a text every single night in this format. A quote, baseball news, or any other news that's going on, and what's going on at home with mom and the dogs and whatever. I look forward to those texts every day, and he never missed one. The text started dying down once he was in the hospital, and eventually they stopped. The night before my dad passed away, I decided to send him a message like he would send me, because I wanted to keep him updated and talk. I sent my message at 12:25 a.m. and my dad passed away at 6:09 a.m. and he never saw the message. So I wanted to read it here today to everybody and to my dad. Hey Dad, I know it's late, but I just finished watching the World Series. The Dodgers won it all, and it was a super close game, and it went to extra innings. I wish the Blue Jays could have pulled through, but that's all right. The O's will get them next year. Feels weird sending the message on my end. You'd usually be the one to do it. I hope you're feeling better and everything's okay. I'm gonna come home for Thanksgiving. I miss you and Mom. I miss your quotes you send me too. I look forward to them every night, and I'm looking forward to reading them soon when you are feeling better. Well, I've been wanting to call you and talk, but everybody has been forgetting to call me, and when they're with you, and I don't blame them. I know Mom is super busy, and she's doing a lot for us. I feel bad not being there. Well, let's talk soon. I love you, Dad.
I wanted to go after Sam because I was worried that I would say something that would upset him and he wouldn't be able to give his speech. I don't even know. Let's see. even really have a speech. There's really not much I can say up here that you all haven't already said. I just want to read a few things to you. Billy was one of a kind, one in a million. Billy was such a kind and sweet man. Billy was always positive and upbeat. Kindest soul I've ever known. A wonderful person. One of the most influential people in my life. Billy was always a bright light, and we truly enjoyed working with him. Billy was nothing short of amazing. Billy always made me smile, a true gem. He was a true friend, full of wit and happiness. Billy was my mentor and like a second father. He changed my life forever. Billy was a special person, a great man, just the greatest guy ever. These are things that all of you and everybody else wrote about Billy. I don't have to say those things to you because you all know. And I appreciate you all sharing them with our family. Over and over and over again, the one thing that everybody wrote was Billy will truly be missed. And he will. Oh, I already said that. So I think the one thing that I want to say to everybody today is things that Billy would want me to say to his family. Because he truly loved his family, first and foremost. And I know this because he told me very often. Ryder, when he saw you play basketball, he was so impressed. Your Zadie was always about fire up, fire up. And when he saw you playing on that field, and you were out there, and all you wanted to do was get out there and play, he was so proud of you. Maybe you didn't make all the baskets, or maybe you didn't get all the balls, but it didn't matter, because to him, just seeing you fired up and wanting to get out there and play meant everything to him. Kayla, we remember when you were little and you would dance, and we would go to your recital. And Billy was so proud, just like with Randy and the dancing and the shtick, and he loved it. He loved watching you. And the last time we went to your recital, when you were now 16, he was in awe of your beauty, in awe of what you did. And he couldn't believe it. He kept saying, like, was that Kayla? Was that Kayla? Because he kept saying, which one's Kayla? Like, are you sure that's Kayla? She did that? Oh my gosh. Like, he was so proud and amazed at everything you did. Jake the Great. Oh, Jake, you were a handful when you were little, and your Zadie got a kick out of it, that's for sure. Yes, I think that he was truly set back by your tattoo. I think once it set in that it was permanent and he had to accept it, yes, he was so in awe that you would put that on your body and that you would take that from him. And for those of you who don't know, that was the Universe Rewards Action. And Billy was all about taking action. Allie. Hoodie, right? You were such a firecracker when you were little. But I think that most memories that your Zadie had were recently, when you've become this wonderful woman, and you truly were one of his best friends. And the fact that you could share with him everything. And I think he feels gratitude that you're the one that's going to hold the family together, and he knows that. You're strong, and willful, and you're not going to let any of us mess up when he's gone. And I thank you for that. And Barbara, Billy loved you. He always loved you. And he would always say he would have nothing without you. Truly. You and I have a bond because we both know Billy, we both lived with him. And he's not always the easiest person to live with. But he respected us because we gave him the most precious thing in his life, which are his kids and grandkids. And another thing I think everybody knows is family meant a lot to Billy. I mean, I got to the point where if somebody told me again, like, oh, Billy talks about you and he says how much he loves you, and I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, it's not all about me, but he made it about me. He made it always about Sam and all of his kids, even if we didn't want it to be about us. He was always just Jordan. Your dad was so proud of you. He was proud of the family that you've had, you and Alyssa both. He loved to watch you guys travel the world. And the fact that you did it as a family meant so much to him. I think he might have been a little jealous, but but he loved giving you advice, and he knew that whatever you were doing, whatever job you had or whatever thing you were into, he was right there waiting to get that call from you for that advice, and he respected you so much. And the fact that you kept your family together, and you're so close, and that really meant a lot to him. Randy, I think you and Paul were this couple that I think he could think the world of. That you guys could do no wrong. Paul, he thought of you as a son. He really did. There's nothing you could have done that would make him upset or anything. He just knew that Randy was safe with you by her side. You talked about legacy, and it's kind of a thing. I know that Randy is kind of Billy's legacy. You're kind of got that same shtick. And everybody who knows Randy knows that she has shtick too. And so many people respect you and respect your dad, and I could see that in the number of posts. I think it was a race to see who had the number of posts, and I think, Randy, you might have won with 300 comments about your dad and about you, just supporting you. So just know that he was so proud of you, and all of his kids and all of his kids' families, and what they did as a family. And he was proud of his brother's family and his sister's family, and the fact that everybody just came together and supported each other. And we always just supported each other. And Sam, you said to me, I'm very upset at you because you said, I'm worried, Mom, that you're going to forget Dad's family. And what you don't understand is it's not Dad's family, it's my family. It's my family, and that's what Dad gave me, okay? Dad gave me that extended family. And every one of you, you're not getting rid of me, that's for sure. You're not. So I don't know why you would think that. Even Barbara, you're not getting rid of me. We're gonna go on some trip together, you and I think, pretty soon. Because this family was easy. It was just easy. Easy to come together and easy to be with. And I truly believe that that Billy changed my life by introducing me to all of you. And that's just, that's really all I can say about him. I mean, of course, he meant the world to me. He had his funny moments, and they were usually moments that he didn't really think were funny. He didn't mean to be funny, just the things that he did. But I just want, I don't want to say too much about, like, my life with him specifically or anything. I just wanted to talk about his family and what they meant to him. And Sam, I don't have to sit up here and tell you what you meant to Dad and how proud he was, because I think he told everybody in the city of Vero Beach all the time, constantly, because everybody says, oh, he was so proud of his son. He was so proud. He was so proud. So we know Dad was proud. But what I want you to know, you asked me the other day if I believed in heaven. And I told you, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. But I do know that, especially in the Jewish faith, we don't necessarily believe in a heaven, but there is an afterlife. And I think that it's about continuing on one's legacy and continuing their legacy through their children and the impact they have on the world. And that is what he believed, that his legacy would go on, just like he carried on Papa's legacy, your namesake, Sam. So when you ask me if there's a heaven, and I assume you meant because maybe Dad would be up there watching over you, it's not what I believe or what anybody believes, it's what you feel. And if you're playing the drums and you look out and you see Dad in that audience, he's there with you. And if you are getting married and you feel a tap on your shoulder, Dad's there with you. Whatever you do, your Father is there with you. And I just want you to know that. Because I know that you only had 19 years with him. And we knew, being that he was 22 years older than me, that maybe he wouldn't have 50 years with you or more. But those 19 years you had with him were better than 19 minutes that people get with maybe their parents or anybody. Those 19 years, you can't measure them in 19 years. They're like almost like dog years. And you know how much Billy loved dogs. And just so you know, Billy was not an animal person, did not like dogs, but my dog that recently passed away, Billy would tell me all the time, I miss Rudy, I miss Rudy. So Rudy's footprint is in with, with Billy. But he will always be with you, Sam. Just know that. This is what happens when you go off the the notes. So there's one thing else I want to say to you, Sam, and that is, one other thing. You saw the quotes that we left around. All of those quotes are things that Billy said to somebody or wrote down or used those quotes in his life and in his mentorship. And one of the things he always said to Sam was, now it's time to get back to your mission. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
we've heard is that Billy was just genuine. He wouldn't just say those quotes, he would live them. How striking it is, Sam, very few times do I get the call from the 19-year-old child calling to say, Rabbi, I need you because I want to honor my dad. And then I turned around as we were visiting, and I happened to be on Facebook, which I'm never on Facebook. And there was over 200 comments on just one part of the page for Billy. Because it was both all of you as a family that stood up to praise him, but also that whole community of people that he took care of over those years. You were telling me about how the people at the restaurant, they weren't just the workers at the restaurant, but they were his family, the ones he cared for, the way that he mentored, just the same way all of you have been talking. And Cinnamon, you said it so beautifully about Billy. Say it in a different way. You all talked about how Billy loved to sit in the sunshine. And you described him with his reflector, with listening to Baltimore sports and making phone calls. Billy literally took that light and sunlight in. That's how he fueled himself. But we've heard, and each of you in your own way coming forward to talk about how he took that light that he got and gave it back with every piece of wisdom, with every piece of shtick, with every piece of light and love that he showed not just to his family, but also to the community. You have all received, and I started with the words of Job, Adonai Natan, Adonai Lekach, Hihi Shem Adonai Mevarach. You all received those gifts that Billy did, and we can hear it in the way that you spoke and what you spoke. You received those words in beautiful ways. And what did Billy do with all of the wisdom that he got and all of the love that he got? He always found a way to turn it back into the world. And so, Sam, that's the afterlife. All of those things that your dad gave you, and I hear it from Andy and Jordan and Cinnamon, from all of you coming forward, what Billy gave to you, the way that you give him that afterlife is just sharing it through your passions, through your shtick, through your creativity, through your light and love. And as we are here, we make his memory into a blessing. The world is different. It's emptier and strange, but you never leave me floating through my mind. Before you were out there, and now you're in here with me. A room full of people. But when I look, I can only see them faintly beyond my face, your face. I'm listening, but I barely hear them on the other side of your voice. When I speak, I hear your cadence in my voice. When I turn my head, I feel it settle at the angle you left vacant. I recognize your thinking shaping my own thoughts. The world is different. I don't need to hold you, for you will never leave me. Again and again in our sacred story, from the beginning of Adam's life with God, breathing life into clay, to our daily prayers, we sense the relationship between our breath, our soul, and our connection to the transcendent divine. As we feel Billy's spirit with us, in our memory and in the ways we move through this world, we offer the words of El Malei Rachamim, as asking for God's protection of the soul that returns to God when we breathe our last breath in this world. And so as our final act here in this place, I invite you please to rise. And as we'll, below Psalm 23, you'll find the words of El Malei Rachamim, this prayer of asking for God's protection of Billy's spirit. As we say these words, we'll then be preparing to depart from this place and to reconvene at Bethel Cemetery on Old Dixie for those of you who are joining us for that. And so, it's a way of asking for God's protection. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Baromim, Hamseh Menucha Nechonat Achat Kanfei HaShechina, In Kodashim Utaharim Kazohar Harakia Masirim, Et Nishmat Velvel Lev Ben Shmuel, Shahalach Lo-Olamo, Ba'al HaRachamim Yistarehu Beseter Kanfav Lo-Olamim, V'yitzror Betzror HaChaim Et Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachlato, V'yanuach B'Shalom Al Nishkavo, V'nomar. Amen. And we say together, O God, full of compassion, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest under the wings of your presence to our loved one, Billy Moss, who has entered eternity. Master of mercy, let him find refuge forever in the shadow of your wings. Let his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. The eternal God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, as let us say, Amen.